fathers did, that is the same thing that you are going to do. Fill up the measure of your fathers. Go ahead and read on.
Ye serpents, ye generation of vipers,
Go ahead.
how can ye escape the damnation of hell?
Uh-huh.
Wherefore, behold, I send unto you prophets and wise men and scribes.
So now Jesus saying, you talk about what they did in the generation of your fathers, how they did to the prophets. But he said, now I send unto you wise men, and look at what you do. Go ahead and read on.
And some of them ye shall kill and crucify.
And some of them you will kill and crucify. Go ahead and read.
And some of them shall ye scourge in your synagogues, and persecute them from city to city.
And I'm going to show you Jesus meant exactly that, because that is exactly what they did to the one that Jesus sent.
Yes, sir.
But he's talking to these scribes and Pharisees, these religious people of that generation. Go ahead and read some more.
Verse 35.
Go ahead.
That upon you may come all the righteous blood shed upon the earth, from the blood of righteous Abel unto the blood of Zacharias, son of Barachias, whom ye slew between the temple and the altar.
In other words, the prophet Zachariah, he just let them know your fathers killed him.
That's right.
But he told you, he told you earlier in Matthew chapter 5 that how they killed the prophets and all of that, didn't it?
Yes, sir.
Now let's go to Acts chapter 5, and we're gonna pick it up at verse 12. 5 and 12. 5 and 12. He said, they were talking about what their fathers did to the prophets, but we wouldn't have done that if we had been in that generation. Jesus said, look, I'm going to send you some wise men and prophets and all of that. And the same thing that your fathers did, that's the same thing that you're going to do. And I'm going to show you that is exactly what they did. Start reading here at Acts chapter 5, and we'll pick it up at verse 12. Now, these are the ones that the Lord sent here. These are among the 12 here. Start reading at Acts 5 and verse 12. 5 and 12. Go ahead and read.
And by the hands of the apostles were many signs and wonders wrought among the people.
So this lets you know these are the ones that he sent, right? Because by the hand of the apostles, there was many miracles that was worked among them. Go ahead and read.
And they were all with one accord in Solomon's porch. And of the rest durst no man join himself to them, but the people magnified them. And believers were the more added to the Lord, multitudes both of men and women, insomuch that they brought forth the sick into the streets, and laid them on beds and couches, that at the least the shadow of Peter passing by might overshadow some of them. There came also a multitude out of the cities round about unto Jerusalem, bringing sick folks, and them which were vexed with unclean spirits, and they were healed every one.
In other words, they did all things that Jesus said they was going to do, right? When he sent them out, right?
Yes, sir.
He told them to heal the sick, cast out devils, do all of that, and they were doing all of that stuff. Now, look at the religious people. Look who it came to him. Go ahead and read on.
Then the high priest
Then
rose
the
up.
high priest rose up. Not some street guy rose up. Then the high priest rose up, and he wanted to know why you doing this stuff here. Go ahead and read on.
And all they that were with him, which is the sect of the Sadducees, and were filled with indignation.
Now this was another religious sect. This was the Sadducees, and they was filled with, why would you be filled with indignation if he's healing the sick and casting out devils and doing all? Why would you be filled with indignation? And you supposed to be a pious individual.
Yes, sir.
But now they are filled with indignation here. Go ahead and read on.
And laid their hands on the apostles, and put them in the common prison.
And laid their hands on the apostles and locked them up in jail. You got thrown in jail now for doing what thus said the Lord. Lord said, I sent you out, to heal the sick, cast out devils, and do all of that stuff. And what did they get for it? Got thrown in jail for it. They put them, and the religious people is the one that put them in there.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and read on.
But the angel of the Lord by night opened the prison doors and brought them forth and said.
See, the Lord always going to deliver his own.
Yes, sir.
And the world going to persecute you, but the Lord going to always deliver his own. Now, he done sent the angels there by night to open up the jail and bring them out. But guess what? You think they ran away? When they came out, they went right back out there and started preaching.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and read. Go ahead and read.
Verse 20.
Go ahead.
Go, stand and speak in the temple to the people all the words of this life.
Now the angel said you go and stand in the temple and speak to the people all the words of the thing that you got thrown in jail for. Go back and do it again.
That's right. Yes, sir.
Go ahead and read.
And when they heard that, they entered into the temple early in the morning and taught. But the high priest came, and they that were with him, and called the council together, and all the senate of the children of Israel, and sent to the prison to have them brought. But when the officers came and found them not in the prison, they returned and told.
So now they sent to get them, but they was gone already. The Lord done sent the angel to deliver them. So now the high priest, go and bring them here. Then, but when they got there, they was already gone. They was standing back out there in the temple preaching. Go ahead, read on.
Saying, the prison truly found we shut with all safety, and the keepers standing without before the door. But when we had opened, we found no man
now that is
within.
really something. The Lord managed to get them past the guy. The door's still locked. And the guy's still standing there, but somehow the Lord managed to get them out of the prison with the door still being locked and the guy's still standing. If that ain't deliverance, I don't know what is.
Yes, sir. All right, brother. Yes,
Go ahead,
sir.
read on.
Verse 24.
Go ahead.
Now when the high priest and the captain of the temple and the chief priests heard these things, they doubted of them whereunto this would grow. Then came one and told them, saying, Behold, the men whom ye put in prison are standing in the temple and teaching the people.
Go ahead.
Then went the captain with the officers and brought them without violence, for they feared the people, lest they should have been stoned.
Go ahead.
And when they had brought them, they set them before the council. And the high priest asked them, saying, Did not we straitly command you that ye should not teach in this name? And behold, ye have filled Jerusalem with your doctrine, and intend to bring this man's blood upon us.
You done fill this Jerusalem with your doctrine, and intend to bring this man blood. They done already brought the blood of the Lord up on them. Jesus even said that, when they crucified him, and they said, well, and they was going to, Pilate was trying to let him go. But then the people said, who shall we let go? Jesus or Barabbas? They said, let Barabbas go. What shall we do with Jesus? They said, crucify him. Then they turned around and said, let this man's blood be up on us and upon our children. They said that.
Yes, sir.
Now they have come and they say, telling the apostles, you done brought this man's blood upon us. Because you out here preaching this word. Go ahead, read on.
Verse 29.
Go ahead.
Then Peter and the other apostles answered and said, We ought to obey God rather than men.
And that's what it's going to come down to. You have to decide who you're going to obey at whatever cost. It do not matter. At whatever cost. So now you see what it cost them. It got them thrown in jail. As soon as they was released, they went right back out there and started doing preaching all over again. And then when they was questioned about it, they said, we ought to obey God rather than men. That's the spirit that you're going to have.
Yes, sir.
At whatever it might even have come down to your life, then that is the spirit that you are going to have. Like they did in the days of Daniel. When they threw the Hebrew boys in the fiery furnace, they said, you going to worship this image that's been set up. They said, oh, king, we're not careful to answer you about this matter. We ain't even got to think about it, in other words. We are going to obey God. That's what we're going to do.
Yes, sir.
Now, whatever you're going to do, you do that. Right. But what we're going to do is we're going to obey God. That's what we're going to do.
Yes, sir.
That is the spirit that you're going to have. Because I want you to understand that this persecution going to carry on down into the end time. Go ahead, read on.
Verse 30.
We're going to get to the end time. Go ahead, read.
Verse 30.
Go ahead.
The God of our fathers raised up Jesus, whom ye slew and hanged on a tree.
Go ahead.
Him hath God exalted with his right hand to be a